And hello, and welcome to another edition of MetsMusings. Well, the Metsies are on a winning streak. They won two against the best team in baseball. They split the series before that with the Nationals. Last week we were speaking about 3 out of 4. Splitting with the Nationals was not a good thing, and it was kind of ugly in a way. It wasn't what you'd call a faith building series, but they did split with the Nationals, came home and took 2 out of 3 so far with the Tampa Bay Rays. Alonso hit home runs in 3 games, all 3 games. Vientos was called up, and what did he do? First game, hit a 2-run homer to spark the team, tie that game. It was later tied again and by Francisco Alvarez and won in extra innings by Pete Alonso, but the offense still remains a bit spotty. Let's be honest. Still some work to be there. And the pitching, while they've got the last 2 days, they had good last 3 days, they've had some good pitching from Kodai Senga and Tyler McGill. Both of them pitched excellent games, and the Mets did not deliver for Senga. He got a no decision, but they did pull out the win for McGill. And Justin Verlander in his City Field debut got hammered. Ooh, I mean, it was first 2 innings, he looked pretty good. Third inning, started to fall apart, and it went downhill from there. But we'll see his next term around. I think he's scheduled to pitch Sunday as the Guardians of Cleveland come into town for a 3-game set starting tonight, where Carlos Carrasco makes his return. Now, if he can pitch pretty well, that's going to be a big boost to this ball club. A real big boost. And they could use some good news for change. Now they are coming off the split, as I said, with the Nationals, 2-game out of 3 winning series against Tampa Bay Rays. Going into Cleveland, they have some momentum building here, and they're going to need it. Cleveland's not a bad team. They are struggling this year, and they have no power whatsoever. I think Josh Naylor is leading the team in home runs, and he's got like 6. So they're not a power hitting club. Wait until they get to City Field, of course. But as of right now, I mean, technically, they're not a power hitting club, and they are a struggling ball club. They're pitching. Last year, they did it with pitching and small ball. This year, the pitching has been very, very shaky, and the hitting hasn't been there as well. As I said, it's a team struggling, and it's an opportunity for the Mets to start getting on the right track and climbing back into this race. They are 6 games out, 1 game under 500. Not awful, not awful, but just the same, it's something that they need to start making a move, cut that 6 game behind a little bit more, get above that 500 mark, and then build from there. So they've been hovering around there. Let's get a little winning streak going, get 5, 6 games above 500, and go from there. So maybe Alonso maybe is in one of his home run streaks, and that could carry your team. So we'll have to see how that pans out this weekend. But we have lots of Mets news, so let's get right to it. The big news, of course, is that the team is calling up Gary Sanchez. Now, you may be wondering, why are they calling up another catcher? Alvarez is playing well, uh, and Perez is the backup right now. And then they have Alvarez and Nito coming back. Well, Gary Sanchez, who they signed to a minor league contract a few weeks ago, he was able to opt out of his contract by midnight tonight, and he said that he was going to opt out. The Mets tried to get him to extend it 10 days, but he refused. So he was going to opt out. They do not want to lose him. So they brought him up. They called him up. The other move that they will make to get him on the roster and bring him up, we do not know at this point. My guess would be Michael Perez will be either optioned out or DFA'd. I think he has one option left to Syracuse. That, in my mind, would be the choice. Now, what happens when Tomas Nido is ready to come back? He had a procedure done on his eye for the dry eye syndrome, and the Mets do feel that that may have been why his hitting was off. He was having some trouble with his eyes. So perhaps they have the confidence in him, and the pitching staff certainly does. He's a terrific defensive catcher. So they will either have to make a decision about that, and Omar Narvaez will be coming back, and they'll have to make a decision on him. They'll have 4 catches when those 2 guys come back healthy, and they'll have a decision to be made. Now, of course, if Sanchez plays well, and how much time will we see of him? With Alvarez has been, picking it up and playing pretty good ball. You don't want to lose him now at this point. So, what do you do with Sanchez? Sanchez is gonna have to play to make an evaluation. So we will see some of Sanchez, and if he hits, he may stay with Alvarez being the backup. Uh, Alvarez and Nido could be trade bait. Neither one of them have options, so they're gonna have to make a decision. Tomas Nido may be the odd man out. One of my favorite players, of course. But we'll see what happens then. They'll have 4 catches and good solid catches. So we'll have to see how Sanchez, that's what a lot's going to depend on, how Sanchez does in this time. If Sanchez hits and it can be dependable behind the plate, then it could be a chance when Alvarez come back. They might want to keep a righty lefty. They could send Alvarez back down. He still has options. That'll be what we have to see. And what do you do with Nido at that point? Now, the San Diego Padres are looking for catchers. It could be a fit for Alvarez or even a Nido, though I think they're looking for a little bit more offense than they're currently getting out of their catching situation. But their promising catcher just got injured, so they are looking for a little bit of a punch there. And who knows? As we look forward to the trading deadline, but that could be one team that we maybe want to see. Okay, so we said earlier that Carlos Carrasco is going to be making his comeback from an injury, and at this point in time, hopefully he's healthy because, as I said, he would be a big boost if he could pitch well. Other people on the injured list. Today, Jose Quintana will undergo what manager Buck Showalter shared as a huge CT scan to check the progress of his surgically repaired rib, which had a benign lesion on it during spring training. So hopefully, if he is doing well, he could start. He's been throwing lightly. They want to extend it to 100 feet. If he gets the go ahead, he could start throwing more, and that would be a great sign for this team if they can get him back as well sometime in July. Again, they have to hang in this race and do what's right. And if they can just stay in it, if they can get bodies back and keep the pressure on, and the young guys the young guys are coming through. They are not hurting this team at all. Baty is struggling a little bit now, but his defense has been solid. His Baty's been picking up some hits. Alvarez has been very solid defensively. I said he needed seasoning. He's getting it. He's getting it on the major league level. And he's been working hard. So he is, I was wrong. He's proving me wrong, and I'm glad. I'm glad of that. But his hitting is starting to come around a little bit as well. Now it's Sanchez. It could be another pop off the bench for Buck Showalter. With his bat, if he can find his old magic that he had when he first came up to the major leagues, and that would be something to have. Vientos came up and showed something with a couple of hits. So the young guys are getting the job done. Not, a lot better. They had their taste last year. That was their taste, and they all kind of struggled. But that's to be expected. It's a tough game. It's not a game that you come in and right away you're hitting 400 or whatever. No, it's a tough struggle, and these guys don't want to stop you as much as you want to get a hit. So, but they're coming around, they're playing well, and that's the main thing. So let's see who else is on the injured list. Edwin Diaz, we have news on him. His rehab remains on schedule from a torn patella tendon in his knee suffered during the World Baseball Classic in March. He was hopeful last month that he'd be back ahead of schedule and available for the Mets in their stretch run in October. An idea that is still too early to actually label as tangible, but he is looking good. He's progressing well, and he's where he needs to be. So keep fingers crossed. Maybe he could come back, but let's not rush him and cause any other injuries. Catcher Omar Alvarez, who is recovering from a calf injury that prompted the call up of top prospect Francisco Alvarez, is also expected to begin playing in rehab games next week. So he could be on the way back, as we were saying earlier. Mets right-hander Dennis Santana went unclaimed on waivers and has been assigned outright to AAA Syracuse per the team's transaction log at MLB.com. It's the second time this season the Mets have outrighted Santana, which grants him the ability to reject the assignment in favor of free agency. And it appears, though, that Santana has accepted the assignment and will head to Syracuse. So another move made by the Mets in this continuing revolving door. I can't even bring guys out of the bullpen. I don't even know when they brought them up or sent them down. It has just been so confusing this year with all these injuries. Guys are in the lineup and out of the lineup and in Syracuse and out of Syracuse and back in New York. It's just a crazy time. But again, 22 and 23, not awful. We will take that any day, and hopefully, it'll improve as we go along. So let us take our first break and come back right after this.
Baseball and BBQ, your place for interesting baseball talk, opinions, and history.
Baseball and BBQ, your place for barbecue recipes, tips, and interviews from the world of barbecue. If you like baseball and if you like barbecue, then tune in to Baseball and BBQ. Find us on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, and BaseballTalkRadio.com.
Did you know that Baseball PhD can be heard on baseballtalkradio.com?
Our shows rotate with other top baseball podcasts.
Now don't forget, that's baseballtalkradio.com.
With us, we'll help you get a PhD in life through baseball.
With baseballtalkradio.com, you'll hear the rest of the excellent universe of baseball podcasts.
Hello, baseball fans. You're listening to Baseball Talk Radio, the home of great baseball talk shows. At baseballtalkradio.com, you're going to find great shows like this one with the great Gary Mack and the MetsMusings podcast. And now back to the show.
And we're back. And now it's time to go down on the farm. And today's farm report. Mets prospect Jose Peroza was named the Eastern League Player of the Week for Week 6, which ran from May 8th to the 14th of this 2023 minor league season. Peroza hit .407 with a 1.345 OPS. He was 11 for 27 with 8 extra base hits, 3 home runs, and 12 RBI. Peroza, who has played shortstop, second base, and third base this year, was promoted from St. Lucie on April 17th. Overall this season for Binghamton, he is batting .284 with a .924 OPS. He has 7 doubles, 5 home runs, 10 walks, and 20 RBI. Ronnie Mauricio had 2 hits, and he is now on a 9-game hit streak. Over the last 4 games, he is 9 for 18 with 4 doubles and 3 RBI. Blake Tidwell only allowed 2 hits in 5 innings work in his last start, but he did have a season-high 5 walks. With that being said, the 21-year-old right-hander has 19 strikeouts in 3 starts this month, and that's 12 innings, and it was a much improved start compared to the one that he had at Wilmington last week, where he only went an inning and a third and gave up 7 earned runs. So big improvement for Mr. Tidwell. And Mike Vassell continues his fine pitching. We may have covered this last week, but he had perhaps the best start of his professional career last Thursday, pitching 8 innings of 1-run ball. He racked up 7 strikeouts, did not walk a batter. His outstanding season continues as his ERA is down to 2.70 with a sensational 0.70 whip. So Mike Vassell continues to pitch very well down in the Mets minor league. So could we see him? It's a big jump from Double-A to the big leagues. You never know. If the need occurs, we could see Mr. Vassell this year. The teams are not doing well this year. They are struggling. Syracuse is 17 and 25 going into today's action. They are in 9th place, 13 and a half games behind the division leader. Binghamton is 16 and 19, and they are in 5th place. Brooklyn is 13 and 20. They are in last place in their division, 7.5 games back. So, that's not awful. In the 6-game series, you could get a weaker team, maybe sweep them. It's a hard thing to do, 6 in a row, but and you're right back in it again. But right now they're struggling, 13 and 20, and I really thought they'd be better because they were getting a lot of the good St. Lucie players, but some have gone to Double-A, some have remained. So I guess that's what's affecting them. And speaking of St. Lucie, they have really been struggling this year. They are 18 and 27, last place in their division, and they are 14 games behind. So that is the farm report as we go down on the farm to check how the little chickadees and the little minor leaguers are doing, the future little Metsies, if you will. So let us take another break and be back to wrap it all up right after this. Okay, and we are back, and I guess that's going to wrap it up. So we've got a 3-game series coming up with the Cleveland Guardians at Citi Field this weekend, and then the Mets are off Monday, and they'll hit the road to play the Chicago Cubbies for the first time this year and the Colorado Rockies in Colorado next weekend before they come home to play the Philadelphia Phillies for the first time. How about that? That'll be the first time the Mets are seeing their Eastern Division rival in 2023. So I hope that you will check out the show, and if you're listening to the podcast, please click on the subscribe button. If you're watching it on YouTube, hit the subscribe button and the like bell, and that way you'll always know when another episode of MetsMusings is coming forward. And you can get us, the audio version is available on Apple Podcasts, whatever it is, Google Play, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast from. Ask for MetsMusings or search for MetsMusings. It is there. We are all over the place, so go check it out. And I want to thank you for taking your time out of your schedule to listen to the podcast. And remember, until the next time, keep the faith, stay optimistic, and let's go Mets. And I'm Gary Mack, and I'll see you next time on another edition of MetsMusings.